Here on The Colour of Country Life, great to be speaking again with David Littleproud, now the leader of the National Party. Congratulations on winning in Maranoa and also in becoming the leader of the National Party, David.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. A great honour to obviously represent the people of Maranoa, but a great honour to lead a party that I effectively joined 40 years ago as a 6-year-old boy, handing out how to vote cards for my father when he became the state member for Condamine in Queensland. So a big honour, but a big task ahead. Unfortunately, we weren't able to win the federal election, and we've now got to rebuild and re-prosecute our case to take government again in 3 years' time.
Now, I must confess I was pleased to see you retain the agriculture portfolio in the Shadow Ministry. You did a lot as Agriculture Minister. How do you see the task now, at least on the agricultural front and for regional Australia from opposition?
Yeah, look, obviously I've got a deep passion for agriculture, and I was proud to be the Australian Agriculture Minister. And as leader, I get to pick the portfolio I wanted, and the portfolio I wanted to continue on with is agriculture. I hope to leave the legacy that I started as Minister, be able to work with the opposition as best I can to try and preserve as much as that. But we'll be holding them to account, obviously, with some of the actions they've already taken, whether that be dismantling the ag visa or phasing out the export of live sheep, which is just ridiculous.
Now, I just wanted to touch on a couple of your shadow team that are in our broadcast areas. Anne Webster and Michael McCormack tapped on the shoulder to have a role as well in your lineup.
Yeah, look, Anne Webster comes in, a real talent, and I've been able to have some generational change and renewal, and that was the whole idea, to bring in people like Anne Webster. She'll be in the regional development, but we'll bring a lot of skills also to the regional health portfolio. Her and her husband Philip are well known in the health circles in regional Victoria, and so we'll be drawing on them. And Michael McCormack, it's about respecting those former leaders, both Barnaby Joyce and Michael McCormack, and bringing them back into the ministry to provide some wisdom, some guidance, and to nurture the next generation. So it was trying to strike the balance. And I know not everyone was happy, but there's only so many positions going around. But I think what we've tried to do is just get that renewal, strike the balance, and bring through the next generation.
And in Perrin Davey as well, your deputy leader, and we've noticed we've got Susan Lee, the deputy leader of the Liberal Party as well, from the West rural seat as well. You've got a strong focus on rural women, it would seem, at the leadership positions in the coalition.
Yeah, look, I'm proud to say the National Party, of the 6 front bench shadow cabinet positions, 3 are women, and Perrin Davies is my deputy. She'll play a pivotal role on water. We face some really big challenges with the Murray-Darling. The Labor government want to open this up again. I was able to get a neutrality test that meant that the 450 could not be taken without proof that it couldn't cause economic or social upheaval. And because of that test, we haven't seen it, because you simply can't take water out of the consumptive pool without having negative impacts on regional communities. That extra 450 was Labor's gift to us on their way out, and now they want to reopen it and take another 450 gigs. So Perrin Davey will be at the fore of prosecuting that case that the 450 is dead. We've got a deal. It shouldn't go on, and we should give certainty to these communities moving forward that government is going to stay out of their lives with the Murray-Darling Basin plan. We don't need to come back near it. States just need to build the infrastructure, and we're done.
Yeah, so sorry, on that 450, you're saying there's simply no way that neutrality test of no negative social, economic or environmental impacts can be met, and it has to be achieved through infrastructure.
Exactly, and that's what the 450 is tied to the sustainable diversion limits, which is the infrastructure piece. The 450 was extra, but it had a social and economic neutrality test put over it so that there was no further economic impact. Now, I got all the states to agree to that. The states are all in agreement, even South Australia. So for Labor to want to reopen this, to actually get back into the consumptive pool and add another 450 gigalitres to the environment, is just disastrous for regional Australia, disastrous for agriculture. It can't be done without destroying regional communities. And so this is just an ideological piece of warfare that the Labor are bringing on to try and secure some Adelaide seats. And it's not achievable without destroying people's livelihoods, and that's not the Australian way. So obviously the 450 is one that we will prosecute. The neutrality test has protected these regional communities, but what we think is there should be greater certainty to farmers particularly the southern basin around that 450, and it should be removed. To make sure that there is that certainty that we're not coming back from. No government is. It's finished.
Now, that's one of the headwinds our rural sector faces in reaching this 100 billion target by 2030. Some encouraging data out from ABARES today in terms of our export values, set to hit 65 billion in the next financial year, and total production a value of 80 billion. We seem to be surging towards that target, but there's quite some headwinds, I guess, in the market sense and maybe in the governmental sense to Australian farmers achieving that.
Yeah, look, our job as a government is just to get out of farmers' lives. And what they've proven, if you get out of their life, what I try to do after the last 4.5, 5 years as Ag Minister, they do the heavy lifting. They actually get the results. They create the wealth for our nation. And when many other industries were put under the doona because of COVID-19, agriculture and resources continue to be able to pay the bills for our nation. And so this is a real testament to Australian farmers. They faced up to floods, to droughts, to cyclones, to mice. And again, we're going to hit over $80 billion. That's an outstanding result for Australian farmers, but for regional Australia, because that wealth comes back to us. And when farmers have money in their pockets, they spend it locally, and local economies grow because of it. So I'm proud of what I was able to do, but most of the heavy lifting was done by farmers because I simply tried to get out of their way when I was Ag Minister.
Now, Dr. Jared Greenville from ABARES, the Executive Director, told us, I think it's something he said before, potentially $80 billion could be wiped off over 10 years, which is equivalent about a year's production, as we just heard, if we have a foot and mouth disease outbreak spreading through the states of Australia. You were very often talking about biosecurity as Agriculture Minister. Is this one of the risks if Labor doesn't grasp the nettle on that topic?
Oh, totally. So it will cost that, and straight up. And we've obviously got cases now in Indonesia. The Chief Veterinary Officer advised me before the election that the risk of foot and mouth disease in this country had gone from around 9% to 18%. We are working with Indonesia to try and let them, help us, allow us in there to help them be able to put in protocols that will support them. They're sovereign countries, but we're working collaboratively with them, with our own veterinary officers up there, also on Lumpy skin. So biosecurity, I'm proud to say the last three budgets, in the last 23 months of those last three budgets, they were handed down. Over $1.1 billion was put towards biosecurity and export protections by our government. And I hope that the Labor government continues to do that, but they'll have to continue to be agile because these threats will evolve and you're going to have to move quickly. And that's what I'd say to this government. I'll support them so long as they move with agility and they put the money where it's needed. And the scientists should tell us where that money should go and how it should be spent and what are the protections that need to be put in place.
Now, you seem to find money to fund biosecurity through the cabinet and spending processes, but there has been some commentary, even during the federal election, of the need for a levy on imports to fund a recurrent effort on biosecurity. Is it something you're looking at, or do you think there's resources within government to make sure we've got biosecurity covered?
Yeah, well, that's up to the new government, but we actually had got to a juncture where a cost recovery model is going to be implemented, and that's important. And that helps fund on a sustainable level, and it goes against those that create the greatest risk to our biosecurity system. So that should be up and going by the end of the year. It'll be up to the new government to finish that off. Much of the consultation took place. The only reason we stopped that was this little thing called COVID. Many of these industries were on their knees, and so we couldn't impose more costs on them in terms of their businesses. It would have cost too many jobs, so the Australian taxpayer bore the brunt of that, but we will move to a cost recovery model. And I hope this government, who we're calling on us to implement one, continues on with all the consultation that's been done with industry and simply implement it now.
All right, David Littleproud, National Party leader, great to have you with us again and look forward to commentary on agriculture and other topics going forward.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.